My name is Chloe, I'm 27 years old, and last week my entire world collapsed with a single text message. It was late in the evening, I had just finished a double shift at the diner where I'd been working to make ends meet. My hands were greasy, my hair pulled into a messy bun, and all I wanted was a hot shower and maybe some mindless TV before passing out. Instead, when I unlocked my phone, I saw a notification from my sister, Amanda. I hadn't heard from her in months, not since the last time we argued about our parents' estate. We'd been on edge with each other ever since Mom passed last year. Amanda always had this way of acting like she was the smarter, more responsible one, while I was the screw-up. Truth be told, I've made mistakes, but I never thought she'd cut me off completely. The message was only 6 words long, but they cut deeper than anything I'd ever read. You are dead to me. Don't ever try to contact me again. I must have read it 20 times in a row, trembling as the words blurred in front of me. My chest tightened, my throat burned, and I just stood there, staring at my phone screen like it was some kind of death sentence. I thought maybe she'd had too much wine, or maybe she was just lashing out in anger. But Amanda wasn't impulsive. She was calculated, always 2 steps ahead of me. If she said something like that, she meant it. I spent the next week in a fog, replaying our childhood memories, wondering how things got so twisted between us. I kept telling myself I'd reach out, that I'd fix things somehow, but I didn't get the chance. Because 1 week later, I got an envelope in the mail. It wasn't from Amanda, it was from her lawyer. The letter inside was short and urgent. My hands shook as I read the first line. This cannot wait, call me immediately. I must have sat at my kitchen table for an hour, just staring at that letter. The lawyer's name was Daniel Foster, ESQ. I didn't know him, but Amanda must have hired him recently. My gut churned with dread. Lawyers didn't send letters like that unless something serious was going on. At first, I thought it had to do with our parents' house. After Mom passed, Amanda and I inherited it jointly. It was a modest 2-story in Raleigh, nothing fancy, but it was filled with memories. Amanda had pushed to sell it immediately, while I wanted time. I couldn't stomach the thought of strangers walking through Mom's kitchen, touching her things. That fight had been the last straw between us. With shaking hands, I dialed the number listed at the bottom of the letter. My heart pounded with every ring until finally a calm, professional voice answered. Law Offices of Daniel Foster. This is Chloe, I blurted out. I got a letter from you. About my sister Amanda? There was a pause, then the man himself came on the line. Chloe, thank you for calling so quickly. I was instructed to reach out to you immediately regarding your sister's request. My mouth went dry. Her request? Yes. Amanda has taken legal steps to sever any shared claims or responsibilities between the two of you. Specifically, regarding your parents' estate. I felt my stomach drop. What do you mean, sever? He cleared his throat. She's filing a petition to declare you legally unfit to manage or co-own assets with her. In plain terms, she's trying to strip you of your rights to your mother's house. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles ached. Unfit? She wanted me erased, not just from her life, but from everything that tied us together. The anger came slow at first, burning low in my chest, but it was there. Amanda hadn't just pushed me out emotionally, she was trying to destroy me legally. That's when something inside me shifted. If she wanted a war, she was going to get one. The call ended with Mr. Foster promising to send me copies of the paperwork Amanda had filed. I hung up and just sat there, the silence of my apartment pressing down on me like a weight. My sister wasn't just angry, she wanted me ruined. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind kept racing back to our childhood, to the way Amanda always had to be the golden child. Straight A's, varsity tennis, perfect smile, the daughter our parents bragged about at every barbecue. And then there was me, the one who dropped out of college, the one who borrowed money and sometimes didn't pay it back right away, the one who was finding herself well into her 20s. But none of that meant I was incompetent. And it definitely didn't mean she had the right to cut me off from the house Mom had left us both. The next day, I got the envelope from Foster's office. Inside were legal documents, pages and pages of cold, typed accusations. Amanda's petition claimed I was financially irresponsible, emotionally unstable, and incapable of managing significant property. She even attached old hospital records from when I'd been treated for anxiety after Mom's death. I felt sick reading it. She had dug through my pain, twisted it, and turned it into evidence against me. But there was something else, something that made me pause. In the petition, Amanda argued that selling the house was urgent because a buyer was already interested and prepared to pay above market value. The buyer's name was blacked out, but I knew Amanda well enough to catch the smell of manipulation. She wasn't just trying to get rid of the house, she was desperate to do it fast. Why? I decided then and there I wasn't going to roll over. If Amanda wanted to paint me as the weak little sister, she was about to find out how wrong she was. I picked up my phone and dialed the only person I knew who might help me, David Miller, my mom's old neighbor. He knew our family better than anyone, and he had always hinted that Amanda wasn't as perfect as she pretended to be. David answered on the second ring, his familiar gravelly voice bringing a strange comfort. He'd been our mom's next-door neighbor for 20 years, the kind of man who shoveled her driveway in the winter without being asked and brought over casseroles when she was sick. "Chloe? Everything all right?" he asked, immediately picking up on the strain in my voice. I swallowed hard. "Not really. I need to talk to you about Amanda. Can I come by?" "Of course. You know where I'll be." When I pulled up to his small brick house that evening, he was already waiting on the porch, leaning against the railing with a mug of coffee in his hand. The late summer air was heavy, cicadas buzzing from the trees. We sat at his kitchen table, the same place I'd eaten countless meals growing up. I slid Amanda's petition across to him. He put on his reading glasses and flipped through it slowly, his brow furrowing deeper with each page. "She's ruthless," he muttered finally, setting the papers down. "Your mother would be sick if she saw this." "I don't understand why she's doing it," I admitted, my voice cracking. "It's not just about money. She wants me gone, completely erased." David leaned back in his chair, watching me carefully. "Chloe, your sister isn't as squeaky clean as she wants everyone to think. You know that, right?" I frowned. "What do you mean?" He hesitated, then sighed. "I've seen people going in and out of the house at odd hours, real estate types, contractors, even a man who looked like a developer. And this was months ago, before you and Amanda even had your falling out. My guess? She's been planning this sale behind your back for a long time." My stomach tightened. But why rush it? Why go to these lengths to push me out? David gave me a look I'll never forget. "Because, Chloe, I think Amanda's hiding something. And whatever it is, it's tied to that house." The words chilled me. For the first time, I realized this wasn't just about sibling rivalry or old grudges. Amanda had secrets, and now, I was determined to uncover them. I left David's house that night with my mind spinning. Amanda was hiding something, that much was clear. But what could possibly be so important about our mother's old house that she'd risk tearing me apart legally just to keep me away from it? When I got back to my apartment, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the couch in the dark, staring at the petition papers spread across my coffee table. Every word Amanda had written about me stung like acid, but it was that one blacked-out name, the supposed buyer, that gnawed at me the most. Whoever wanted that house so badly had to be connected to Amanda. The next morning, I drove straight to the old neighborhood. Pulling up to the house was surreal. The front yard was overgrown, the shutters peeling, but I could still picture Mom sitting on the porch swing with her iced tea. It felt wrong, like I was trespassing in my own memories. I parked a block away and decided to take a walk around, hoping the neighbors might have seen something. Mrs. Ramirez, who lived across the street, recognized me immediately. "Chloe. I thought that was you," she said warmly, though her expression quickly softened into concern. I'm so sorry about everything with your mother. Thanks, I said. Listen, have you noticed anything unusual at the house? People coming and going? Her lips pressed into a thin line. Your sister's been bringing people around. Men in suits, mostly. One of them even came by to ask me about the property lines. He said they were considering a big renovation. That word, renovation, set alarm bells off in my head. On my way back to the car, I stopped by the mailbox in front of the house. To my surprise, it was stuffed full, flyers, envelopes, and one thick manila packet with Amanda's name on it. I knew it was wrong, but my hands moved before I could stop them. I slipped it under my jacket and drove off. Back in my apartment, I tore it open. Inside were blueprints. Not for a renovation, but for a complete teardown. Amanda wasn't trying to fix the house. She was trying to erase it. And in the margins of the blueprints, scribbled in her handwriting, was a name I hadn't seen in years. The name written in the margin stopped me cold, Ethan Cole. I hadn't thought about him in nearly a decade, but the memories came rushing back like a flood. Ethan had been Amanda's boyfriend all through college, the one my parents secretly hated but never said much about because Amanda always got what she wanted. He was charming, ambitious, the kind of man who could sell you on anything with just a smile. But I remembered something else too. Mom once confided to me that she didn't trust him. After college, Amanda claimed they'd broken up. She said Ethan had moved to Charlotte for work and they'd fallen out of touch. But if his name was written on blueprints for our mother's house, then that was a lie. I spread the papers out across my coffee table. The plans weren't just for a teardown, they showed a massive development, 6 luxury townhomes where our little family house now stood. It wasn't sentimental, it was business. Amanda and Ethan were in this together. The betrayal stung in layers. She hadn't just cut me out emotionally or legally, she was literally building a new life on top of our mother's memory. I grabbed my phone and Googled Ethan's name. It didn't take long to find him. He was listed as a real estate developer, on a glossy website, smiling in a suit, arms crossed confidently in front of a skyline backdrop. His company had already built several high-end properties in the area. It all clicked. Amanda wasn't selling the house to some random buyer. She was selling it directly to Ethan. And the petition against me wasn't just personal, it was strategic. She needed me out of the way to push the deal through. My pulse quickened as a cold anger settled in my chest. Amanda thought I'd roll over and let her destroy everything, but she had underestimated me. I wasn't just going to fight her in court. I was going to find Ethan. And when I did, I'd uncover exactly what the two of them were hiding. I stared at Ethan's smug face on his company's website until my hands clenched into fists. He looked exactly the same as I remembered, confident, polished, dangerous in that way people who lie for a living always are. The next step was obvious, I needed to see him in person. His website listed an office downtown, not far from the courthouse. I didn't call ahead or make an appointment. If I did, Amanda would know I was sniffing around. Instead, I showed up unannounced. The office was sleek and modern, all glass walls and expensive furniture. A young receptionist with perfect makeup looked up as I walked in. "Hi, do you have an appointment?" she asked sweetly. "No," I said firmly. "But tell Ethan Cole that Chloe needs to see him. He'll know who I am." She looked unsure but picked up the phone. I watched her whisper into the receiver, her eyes flicking nervously toward me. A few minutes later, Ethan himself appeared, wearing a tailored suit and that same practiced grin. "Chloe," he said smoothly, like we were old friends. "Well, this is a surprise." I folded my arms. "Cut the crap, Ethan. What's going on with you and Amanda? Why is your name on the blueprints for my mother's house?" His smile didn't falter, but his eyes flickered, just for a second. "You've always been direct. I'll give you that." He motioned toward his office. "Why don't we talk privately?" I followed him inside, though every instinct told me I was walking into the lion's den. He closed the door, then leaned casually against his desk. Look, Chloe, he said, lowering his voice. This isn't personal. Amanda and I are working on a deal that benefits everyone. That house is falling apart. What we're planning will raise property values for the whole neighborhood. I glared at him. Don't pretend this is some charity project. You're using Amanda, and she's letting you. For the first time, his smile faltered. Careful, he said softly, almost threatening. You don't know everything about your sister. And in that moment, I realized he was right. I didn't flinch under Ethan's words, but my heart hammered in my chest. What's that supposed to mean? I asked, keeping my voice steady. Ethan leaned back on the edge of his desk, arms crossed, studying me like I was a puzzle he'd already solved. Let's just say Amanda has obligations. Things you don't need to get involved in. I stepped closer. She's my sister. If she's hiding something, I have every right to know. He smirked. That's where you're wrong. Amanda cut you out for a reason. You've always been the weak link, Chloe. She doesn't trust you. Neither do I. His words stung, but instead of breaking me, they hardened my resolve. Funny, I said, meeting his gaze. If I were so irrelevant, you wouldn't be wasting your time trying to scare me off. That shut him up for a moment. He exhaled through his nose, then grabbed a business card from his desk and pressed it into my hand. You want answers? Fine. Do some digging. But when you find out what Amanda's mixed up in, don't say I didn't warn you. I left his office more determined than ever. Whatever Amanda was hiding, Ethan had just confirmed it wasn't just about a property deal, it was bigger. Back in my car, I studied the card. On the back, in tiny handwriting, Ethan had scrawled something that made my stomach twist. Cedarbrook Holdings. Ask around. That night, I went home and typed the name into Google. Dozens of articles popped up, most of them tied to shady real estate practices, lawsuits, even whispers of money laundering. And buried in one of the articles was a bombshell, Amanda's name. Not as a victim. Not even as a witness. As an investor. My sister wasn't just working with Ethan. She was in business with him. And from the looks of it, she was knee-deep in something criminal. I sat frozen at my desk, the glow of my laptop screen illuminating Amanda's name in black and white. Investor. She wasn't just dabbling, she was tied directly to Cedarbrook Holdings, the same company being investigated for shady development deals across North Carolina. My first thought was denial. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe there was another Amanda with the same last name. But the more I scrolled, the less room I had to hide from the truth. Articles linked her to Ethan's projects, her signature was on documents, and even photos surfaced of the two of them at ribbon cuttings, smiling for the cameras like a polished power couple. Amanda hadn't cut me out of her life because of our mother's house. She'd cut me out because I was a liability. If I knew the truth, I could ruin everything. My hands shook as I shut the laptop. I needed to talk to someone who understood the legal side of this mess, someone who could give me leverage. My first call was to Mr. Foster, Amanda's lawyer, the same man who had warned me she was trying to sever our ties. When he answered, I didn't waste time. Mr. Foster, I think my sister is committing fraud. She's working with a company called Cedarbrook Holdings. Do you know anything about that? There was a long pause. Longer than made sense. Finally, he said carefully, Chloe, that's not a conversation we can have over the phone. The way he said it made my stomach twist. So you do know something. Meet me tomorrow, he said quickly. There are things you don't understand. Things I probably shouldn't even tell you. But if Amanda's pulling you into this, you need to be prepared. The line went dead. I set the phone down, my chest tight. Amanda wasn't just playing dirty in family court, she was entangled in something criminal, and now I was stepping right into the middle of it. For the first time, I realized my fight for revenge wasn't just about protecting Mom's house. It was about survival. The next morning, I drove to Mr. Foster's office with a pit in my stomach. The sky was overcast, heavy with the threat of rain, and my nerves felt just as stormy. If Amanda was really tied to Cedarbrook Holdings, then whatever Foster had to tell me could change everything. His office was in a quiet building near downtown, far less flashy than Ethan's glass palace. When I stepped inside, he greeted me with a grim expression, not the professional politeness I'd heard in his voice before. "Chloe," he said, motioning me into his office. "Lock the door behind you." That was the first sign this wasn't going to be a normal meeting. I sat across from him, clutching my bag. "You said there are things I don't understand. So tell me. What is Amanda involved in?" He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Cedarbrook Holdings has been under investigation for over a year. They're accused of falsifying property values, bribing local officials, and laundering money through real estate deals. If your sister is connected, as you say, then she's exposed to enormous legal risk." I swallowed hard. But I saw her name. On documents. Articles. She's not just connected, she's invested. Foster rubbed his temples. "Then she's in deeper than I thought." He hesitated before adding, "And if you want my advice, stay out of it. Let the authorities handle this." "Stay out of it?" I snapped. "She's trying to strip me of my inheritance, erase Mom's memory, and line her pockets with blood money. You really think I'm going to walk away?" His eyes softened, but his voice stayed firm. "Revenge is dangerous, Chloe. And if Amanda feels cornered, she won't hesitate to destroy you." I leaned across the desk, my voice steady. "She already tried." For a moment, silence hung between us. Then Foster slid a folder across the desk. "These are public records I shouldn't be showing you," he said. "But if you're serious about fighting back, this will give you a place to start." I opened the folder. Inside were bank records, shell company names, and, most shocking of all, a payment linking Amanda directly to a city official. She wasn't just greedy. She was corrupt. And now I finally had proof. I left Mr. Foster's office with the folder tucked tightly under my arm, my pulse racing like I'd just stolen state secrets. In a way, I had. The documents he gave me were enough to tie Amanda to Cedarbrook Holdings, and worse, to bribery. My perfect, untouchable sister wasn't just ruthless, she was dirty. That night, I spread the papers across my kitchen table, highlighting connections, tracing money trails, and jotting down notes like some amateur detective. Every page made me angrier. Amanda had funneled tens of thousands through shell accounts, disguised as consulting fees, and one of those payments went directly to a city councilman. It was no wonder permits for her projects were being fast-tracked. For a while, I just stared at her signature on those forms, rage building. She had smeared my name in legal filings, called me unfit, dead to her, all while she was knee-deep in crime. I wasn't going to let her win. But I knew I couldn't march into court waving this folder around. Amanda would spin it, Ethan would back her up, and I'd look like the bitter little sister trying to get revenge. I needed to be smarter. So I made a plan. First, I'd gather more evidence, enough that Amanda couldn't bury me in legal tricks. I'd track Cedarbrook's deals, find witnesses, maybe even reach out to reporters. Second, I'd hit her where it hurt most, her reputation. Amanda lived for her image as the polished, successful one. If people saw what she really was, her entire world would crumble. I sat back in my chair, staring at the pile of evidence. For the first time in weeks, I felt something other than fear or despair. I felt power. Amanda thought I was weak, that she could erase me. But now I had the truth in my hands. And the truth was going to be my weapon. The next few days were a blur of planning. I barely slept, fueled by coffee and adrenaline, but for the first time since Amanda's text, I felt like I was the one pulling strings instead of being jerked around by them. I knew Amanda wouldn't stop her petition. If anything, she'd push harder now that she sensed I was resisting. That gave me the perfect opportunity. Court filings were public, and her petition painted me as unstable, financially reckless, unfit to manage property. But if I could prove she was hiding criminal activity, then her own words could be turned against her. My first step was subtle. I reached out to a local investigative journalist, Rachel Kim, whose byline had appeared on several articles about Cedarbrook Holdings. I didn't give her everything, just a taste. One document, showing a suspicious payment to the city councilman, with Amanda's signature at the bottom. Rachel's voice crackled through the phone. If this is real, Chloe, this is huge. But I'll need more. Names. Dates. Paper trails. You'll get them, I promised. Just keep this between us for now. Next, I returned to the old neighborhood. I talked to neighbors, pretending I was just checking on the house. I learned Amanda had been meeting with Ethan late at night, sometimes when official business hours were long over. Mrs. Ramirez even snapped a picture of them together on the porch a few weeks ago. That photo went straight into my folder. Finally, I set my first trap. I texted Amanda for the first time since she declared me dead to her. I know about Cedarbrook. We need to talk. Within minutes, 3 dots appeared. Then her reply. Where did you hear that name? My lips curled into a smile. She was rattled. Good. Because this was just the beginning. Amanda's text sat on my screen, glowing like a warning flare. Where did you hear that name? I didn't answer right away. Let her stew. Amanda hated not being in control, and silence was the sharpest blade I could use on her. After a few minutes, she sent another. Chloe. I'm serious. If you know something, you need to stay out of it. That was all the confirmation I needed. She was scared. I typed slowly, carefully. Meet me tomorrow. Mom's house. 7 p.m. No lawyers, no Ethan. Just you and me. There was a long pause before she replied. Fine. When I set the phone down, my heart pounded. Tomorrow night, I'd finally face her. But this time, I wouldn't come empty-handed. The next day, I prepared. I scanned copies of every incriminating document in Foster's folder, plus the photo from Mrs. Ramirez, and emailed them to myself, labeling the file, insurance. If Amanda tried to threaten me, or worse, I'd make sure her secrets didn't stay buried. By evening, I drove to the house. The sky was streaked with orange and purple, the air thick with the smell of cut grass and summer heat. I parked in the driveway, hands gripping the wheel, staring at the place that held so many memories. At 7 on the dot, Amanda's black SUV pulled up. She stepped out, dressed sharply in a blazer and heels, like she was heading into a boardroom instead of a confrontation with her sister. For a moment, I barely recognized her. The girl I used to share a room with was gone. In her place stood someone colder, sharper, almost dangerous. Chloe, she said, her voice clipped. What the hell do you think you're doing? I pulled the manila folder from my bag and set it on the hood of her car. I think I'm finally leveling the playing field. Her eyes flicked to the folder, then back to me, and for the first time since this war began, I saw it, fear. And it felt good. Amanda's heels clicked against the pavement as she closed the distance between us, her expression hard but her eyes betraying unease. What's in that folder? She asked, her voice low and controlled. I crossed my arms, refusing to flinch. Proof. Of Cedarbrook. Of you and Ethan. Of every dirty deal you thought you buried. Her jaw tightened. You don't know what you're talking about. I smirked. Don't I? Because the city councilman who took your money might disagree. So would the neighbors who saw you sneaking around here with Ethan. And Rachel Kim, the journalist I'd been talking to, she'd love a story like this. For the first time, Amanda's mask cracked. Her face drained of color. You wouldn't. Oh, I would, I said evenly. You tried to erase me, Amanda. You dragged my name through court, called me unstable, unfit. All while you were laundering money through Mom's house. I stepped closer, lowering my voice to a whisper. You're not the golden child anymore. You're a criminal. And I'm the only one standing between you and total ruin. She looked at me like she wanted to slap me, but her hands stayed clenched at her sides. Her voice broke slightly when she spoke again. You don't understand, Chloe. This isn't just me. I'm in too deep. If you expose this, you won't just take me down, you'll make enemies you can't handle. I studied her, searching for some trace of the sister I used to know. But all I saw was fear wrapped in arrogance. Maybe, I said. But at least I'll go down knowing the truth came out. What about you? Can you say the same? She exhaled sharply, glancing at the folder again. What do you want? She finally asked. And there it was, the shift. For the first time, Amanda wasn't in control. I was. The night air was heavy between us, the silence broken only by the faint hum of cicadas in the trees. Amanda's words hung there, what do you want? And for the first time in years, I felt like I had the upper hand. I leaned against the hood of her SUV, folding my arms. Simple. You drop the petition. You stop trying to sell the house. And you walk away before I give everything I have to the press, the police, and anyone else who'll listen. Her eyes narrowed. And if I don't? I slid my phone out of my pocket, the screen glowing as I opened my email. Then this file goes to Rachel Kim with one click. Ethan won't be able to protect you, and Cedarbrook won't either. You'll be finished. Amanda's facade cracked completely then. For the first time, she looked small. Not the polished, untouchable sister I'd grown up competing with, but just a scared woman who had built her life on lies. You always were the reckless one, she whispered bitterly. But maybe that's what it takes. I'm not reckless, I said firmly. I'm done being your shadow. You tried to erase me, Amanda. Instead, you exposed yourself. She stood there a long time, her eyes darting between my face and the folder. Finally, she exhaled sharply, shoulders sagging. Fine. You win. I'll tell my lawyer to withdraw the petition. And the house, it's yours. I want nothing to do with it anymore. I nodded, holding her gaze. Good. Because if you so much as breathe in my direction again, I won't hold back next time. Without another word, Amanda snatched her keys, slid into her SUV, and sped off into the night. I stood in the driveway alone, the cool breeze brushing against my skin. For the first time since Mom's death, I felt a strange sense of peace. The house wasn't just a building, it was our mother's legacy. And now, it was safe. Amanda had tried to destroy me. But in the end, she destroyed herself. And I walked away stronger than ever.